Paddy Pimblett isn't your average fighter. Some may compare him to Conor McGregor because of his showmanship, but the Scouser is more than just a fighter at this point. He loves getting under other people's skin and knows how to draw out big crowds. Pimblett's not a stranger to controversy, but he has a knack for converting it to his own benefit. Let's see how he reflected on his London win. First up, Paddy loves getting punched in the face. Bit weird, isn't it? Paddy believes it sounds very weird, but he does enjoy getting a punch in the face. As we said, he knows exactly how to remain relevant, and this interview after his London win proved just that. Talking to the media after his win, Paddy the Baddy believes that getting punched in the face for a living is something that he enjoys, and he knows he can fight more intelligently, but loves being a little reckless. As we got to see in his win over Jordan Leavitt, that doesn't mean he actually enjoyed his performance too. Pimblett admitted that he was disappointed and he should have gone out and blasted him out, but he didn't do that. Yeah, that much was fairly obvious, and it was apparent that Paddy wasn't at his best. However, he still feels that he finished him, and that's something no one has done to Leavitt before. There's always a proper high that the fighters are experiencing after a fight, and Paddy was definitely feeling it as he went on to claim that he choked his and even though Leavitt defended the punches well, he still finished him. If this interview doesn't make a lot of sense, don't worry, because it's not supposed to. These are raw emotions from fighters right after the fight. Expecting them to be composed is unfair. But then again, expecting Paddy to ever be composed is unfair because, let's be honest, all we get from him is raw and unfiltered emotion, and we absolutely love it. But the Baddy isn't happy with his emotions. We might love this raw side of the Liverpudlian, but the fact is, it's something that should remain a part of him only during the interview. And while he's promoting his fights in the pressers. It's not okay for him to have that kind of emotional range during a fight because it can cost him in the long run. You want to use your emotions to your benefit, rather than let your opponents get the better of you because you can't control them. It's good to see Pimblett not letting the win get to his head, and it's great to see that he knows he wasn't at his ultimate best. While his striking was still there, the emotions he experienced were overwhelming, and he'll need to put a leash on it the next time he steps inside the ring. Paddy explained how after rewatching the fight, he felt that he was trying to take Leavitt's head off every time he threw a punch, and that's not good enough. But Paddy pointed out that he wouldn't have an issue fighting like that every time. At this very moment, he can easily step outside and get into a fight and start punching people in the face or even getting punched in his own face, and he'd enjoy it. That clearly shows he's someone who wears his heart on his sleeve and loves to give everything he has in the octagon every time he steps inside and wants to win. It's fantastic to see, but if he wants to make a big name for himself, he'll have to find the balance, because the competition gets tougher in the UFC with every fight. And what's next for Paddy Pimblett? You might not think Paddy's fighting style is sustainable, but he's been perfect in the UFC and has a decent MMA record too. His star power has shot through the roof in the last 12 months, and even after registering his third win, the Scouser is showing no signs of slowing down. But what's next for the 27-year-old, and where could we see him in action? Well, it certainly won't be in Madison Square Garden in November if Pimblett has his own way. He wasn't interested in the taxman taking all of his money, so he didn't want to fight in New York in UFC 281. But not to worry, guys, because he's expressed his desire of a possible return to the fighting scene before 2022 ends and could get a match in Vegas by the end of this year. He knows that his fan following is growing with each passing day, and he mentioned how he worked really hard to get to this point. Paddy's unwavering faith in his abilities is amazing to see, and while he may not be everyone's cup of tea, he's making some proper waves in the UFC scene. There's no doubt that Dana White would value Paddy's opinion and get him a fight in Vegas before the year's out. In other news, first up, Michael Chandler thinks Oliveira will finish Makhachev. The headline fight of the UFC 280 is the lightweight title bout between Charles Oliveira and Islam Makhachev. It has been a long time coming, and if we're being honest, we just can't wait to see them go against each other. But if you take it from someone who has shared the octagon with Do Bronx in the past, the fight will result in nothing but heartache for Makhachev. Michael Chandler thinks there's no other possibility than a stoppage victory for his former rival, Charles Oliveira. Of course, though, if you listen to Khabib, you'll think that Makhachev will comfortably deal with the Brazilian, and that's what makes this fight so fascinating. It's taking place between two fighters at the peak of their powers with almost nothing to separate them. Oliveira might just be a little higher on the ladder than Makhachev, but that doesn't mean Khabib's understudy should be taken lightly. Chandler, talking to MMA Junkie, explained that Islam is a great talent and will be a future champion, but none of that promise and potential guarantees him being the favorite in a fight against Charles Oliveira. It's very true, too. We think Makhachev's hype has been crazy, and people seem to be underrating the Brazilian. He shouldn't be going into any fights in the lightweight lightweight division as the underdog, and we think he's going to be super dominant against Makhachev. Next up, Wikipedia kills McGregor. The reports of my death are greatly exaggerated, but this time it's the Conor McGregor version rather than Mark Twain's. Confused? Well, if you were surfing the internet over the last couple of weeks and are a part of the MMA Twitter, you wouldn't be in this position. Either way, we've got you covered like always. Social media users shared screenshots from Wikipedia which claimed that Conor McGregor had died, and fans couldn't believe it. Many knew right away that it was a hoax, considering there wasn't any other news on the matter, but some were given a proper shock nonetheless. There was an entry on the Irishman's Wikipedia page indicating that he passed away on the 3rd of August 2022. After a lot of confusion, a spokesperson for the Wikimedia Foundation cleared the matter up and confirmed that it was just an error and nothing to worry about. And if you still don't believe it and think that it's some kind of conspiracy and he is dead like Avril Lavigne died all those years back, then well, you'd be hugely surprised to see him in action when he does make his UFC return in a couple of months. Fingers crossed. And Israel Adesanya to defend title against Alex Pereira. UFC 281 keeps on throwing surprises. The latest one is the clash between middleweight champion Israel Adesanya as he looks to defend his title against former long-term rival Alex Pereira. The fight was confirmed by the stylebender himself, which will be taking place in New York on the 12th of November. Surprisingly, not many players enter the ring with Adesanya and come out on top, but Pereira has 2 wins over the champion, both coming in kickboxing and including a win by KO. However, a lot of time has passed, and Adesanya has been 23-1 in his middleweight career and is currently the #1 middleweight fighter in the world, with Pereira ranked at 7th. It should be an absolute cracker of a fight, with the 33-year-old having successfully defended his middleweight title 5 times. The title holder since October of 2019, yeah, it's so long ago that COVID wasn't even a thing back then, will be hoping to end the claims by Pereira. His record is something of a blemish on Adesanya's career, but if he can get a win in mid-November over his old rival, he'd truly feel unstoppable. We wouldn't be surprised if he already does, to be honest. You don't hold the title for almost 3 years without being truly the best. That's a wrap for this video. Do you think Paddy Pimblett has the potential to become the next big name in the UFC? Let us know in the comments below. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe to our channel for more videos like this. See you in the next one.